One of the most outspoken voices against the mosque at Ground Zero is the New York gubernatorial candidate for the Republicans, which is Rick Lazio. Many remember, of course, he ran against Hillary Clinton. And it looks like you'll be running against Andrew Cuomo this time. Rick, welcome back to the program. Thanks for being with us.
Sean, great to be back on. Thanks. I'm in Buffalo today just talking about phasing out the corporate tax in New York and trying to send a signal that New York can grow again, we can get our taxes and spending down, and we can create jobs.
Well, I got to tell you something. You know, most people don't know that the New York state income tax is about to go to 10%. So when Obama allows the Bush tax cuts to expire, that means that a minimum people are going to pay, and that's before property tax, enormous amounts of sales tax, surtaxes on just about everything. You know, that brings people in New York, 60+% of their income will go to taxes.
Yeah, you know, whenever New York raises its taxes, and it's raised taxes by over $12 billion over the last 2 years alone, it's great news for the economic development professionals in other states, because they're just dragging away businesses, jobs, and people from New York. We've lost almost 2 million New Yorkers over the last 10 years, Sean, to other states. It's a failed strategy. You know, we keep raising taxes. It sends people to the doors. And then to make up for the taxes that we've lost because people have left, they raise again, and it's a vicious cycle. We need to break that cycle. We need to drive down spending. We need to take on some of these interest groups that are controlling the agenda. But we've got to have to aggressively have a pro-growth agenda. You can't say you love jobs and punish the job creators.
You know, look, the Star Ledger before Chris Christie was elected pointed out that $70 billion in New Jersey wealth left the state because of their confiscatory tax policies.
Right.
It's even worse now in New York.
Yeah, that's why I've been advocating phasing out the corporate tax, indexing personal rates to inflation so people don't see bracket creep, letting the sunset, there's a surcharge right now, letting it sunset, going to zero capital gains for new startups, driving down taxes on energy.
How about the state income tax?
The state income tax needs to come down. I mean, the state income tax, if we want to attract economic activity and jobs and growth and be a place where innovators want to establish residence, we've got to be a place where you're not punishing
why would somebody
people.
now say, you know, look, I know young people, they can't get a starter home in New York because prices are so astronomical,
right.
And taxes are so high, and property taxes are on top of the high income taxes in most counties, Nassau, Suffolk County, Westchester, et cetera. But you know, look, a lot of people say, look, there's zero income tax, state income tax in Florida, zero state income tax in states like Texas. You know what? How is it those states are able to balance their budgets and attract business and create a business-friendly environment, and New York gets 10%, and then a high sales tax on top of it, and then high property taxes on top of that?
Because we've got spending lobbies that control the politicians in Albany, our state capital, because they set the agenda. The public employee unions set the agenda. The spending groups set the agenda. The average taxpayer watches as their pockets get picked and as their sons and daughters are leaving the state for better opportunities. And I think people in New York have had it. I see, you know, survey numbers, 85% of the people of New York believe that their state government is dysfunctional. 55% in a Siena College poll recently said they were embarrassed to admit they're from New York, not because of their neighbors and friends, but because of the political leadership. It's all one-party control. Democrats control every statewide office. 4 years ago, here's 4 people that got elected, Sean. We had Elliot Spitzer, David Patterson, Alan Hevesy, the comptroller, who resigned in disgrace, and Andrew Cuomo. So that's the cabal that got us to where we are now. People want to turn the page. They want to get the spending down. They want to balance the budget. They want to grow the economy again. They want to get taxes down. Property taxes is part of it. But all these other issues that I was talking about, phasing out the corporate rate, indexing personal income tax, getting down Andrew Cuomo is against all of that. You know, he wants to see spending increase. He's a tool of the special interests. They control his campaign. They have almost $9 million, according to the New York Times, that have of special interest money in his campaign. campaign coffers. But I think people get the joke. They know that if we elect anybody like that, we're going to get more of the same, which is a recipe for failure. And of course, as we talked before, over a month ago, in fact, July 7th to be precise, I wrote Andrew Cuomo, having been out front on raising questions about this ground zero mosque, to say, listen, you're the Attorney General. You have the ability and you've got the jurisdiction to oversee charities. This Cordova initiative, which is the vehicle that they're using to try and push this ground zero mosque, is a New York State registered charity. Use your authority to open the books. Let's find out who's behind. When you're saying you're going to raise $100 million and they only have $18,000 right now, where's this money coming from?
Well, they said take money from Saudi Arabia. They'd be open to taking money even from a foreign enemy, Iran.
Yeah, I mean, that when you get to that point, you've got to say, if Howard Dean and Harry Reid and Nancy Pelosi are for transparency or for moving the mosque, they're doing more for the people of New York than Andrew Cuomo. They are really so profoundly out of touch. When you start thinking about Iran as a possibility of funding a ground zero mosque, people should be outraged. I'm outraged by it. I mean, I talk to these families of the victims of 9/11, and they've got tears in their eyes about how they feel when they consider a ground zero mosque. Now, these developers, Sean, they came in saying, and this Imam Raouf came in saying, well, we're here to heal divisions. Well, if you take them at their word that the goal of building this mosque is to heal divisions, they're doing just the opposite. They're opening wounds for people that we ought to be supporting and helping.
What are we to interpret from the fact that they wouldn't even sit down with Governor Patterson, who talked about an alternative site?
I think you draw that they are defiant, that they want to have that mosque right where it is, as close to ground zero as possible. And for your listeners, the site that they have here is so close to ground zero that the existing building, which is 150 years old, they want to tear it down, was damaged by the landing gear of one of the planes that attacked the Twin Towers. That's how close they are to ground zero. And for those of us who lost friends and continue to talk to people who are the families and friends of people that were lost on that day, you've got to look at this decision. You've got to say this increasingly looks like it's by design, that they want to have it there. They're defiant about it. They're not listening to any other possible reasonable compromises. They're not opening up their books. You're not seeing any questions answered about where the money's coming from. In fact, just the opposite. And when you have the question posed, would you take money from Iran, and you refuse to answer that question, leaving open the possibility that you're going to get money from a government that is one of the funders of the worst terrorist organizations in the world, the most vicious, violent terrorist organizations in the world, and that money is going to be used to fund a ground zero mosque. We've got to be out of our minds not to ask questions about where this money's coming from. That's what I've been screaming about.
What do you make of the president's comments, and what do you make of Speaker Pelosi's comments that she wants to investigate critics of the ground zero mosque? I assume that means you and me and 9/11 families and everybody else.
And about 65% of the general public, So on one hand, she agrees with me, we ought to be investigating where the money is coming from. And then she says, well, but we should investigate everybody as if there's some moral equivalency here. It's just, like the Imam who says, this Raouf who said, American policies were an accomplice to the crime of 9/11, or one man's terrorist is another man's hero is another comment that he made, So this is a man who sees no moral difference between somebody who kills innocent civilians for their own purposes and people who are, in other cases, defending principle. So I think they're completely out of touch. And again, I put Andrew Cuomo in the same category with Pelosi and with obviously Barack Obama. And this is why I've been, the people tried to sweep this under the carpet early on. They were hoping nobody would really pay attention to the fact they were going to build a ground zero mosque, and I blew the whistle on them. And a lot of people have rallied to the cause. And for people that want to know more about what I'm doing and what they can do to stop this, they can go on to my website, www.lazio.com, and write, I'd say not here, not now, not ever.
All right, Rick Lazio, Republican gubernatorial candidate. We'll be checking in with you throughout the campaign. Appreciate you checking in today. Thank you.
Great to be on, Sean. Thank you.